The original Legend of Zelda game took the console gaming world by storm in 1986 and proved that free-roaming adventure games were the way of the future. Capcom took notice and decided to build their own game with similar characteristics. In 1989, Willow reached shelves in North America, right in the prime of the Nintendo Entertainment System. It was based on the 1988 fantasy movie of the same name, the story for which was created by George Lucas. Fans of the Zelda games would quickly adapt to this one, and would probably be pleased to know that there are a lot of similarities between this title and that franchise. However, there are some big differences as well. Willow is a little more RPG oriented because you gain actual levels, and have hit points and magic points. There are also several different elemental based magic spells you can acquire. Each have different effects, and there are 12 in total. Some are borderline useless, but many of them are actually very powerful, like the healing spells and Turr Storm, which blows all enemies away on a single screen. If you're a fan of Johnny Cash, you'll be pleased to know that you can literally fall into a burning ring of fire through the Fire Flower spell, and enemies that come into your vicinity are fried accordingly. The equipment system here is similar to Crystallis, so you can pop up a menu and toggle between swords, shields, magic, and other items. You can also view your level and statistical information on the same screen. You can only quote-unquote equip one single magic spell at a time, so it operates like many other titles of this type. Probably the most unique thing about Willow is that there are two different ways to use the sword. First, there's a quick jab that can be done by pressing B while holding the directional pad in the way you want to attack. Otherwise, if you simply press B without holding any direction, you execute a circular slash that covers more ground but is far slower. You can gain better swords as you progress, and each one becomes more proficient in terms of attack quickness the more you level it up. This system was honestly pretty unique for its time and offered a little more versatility than you would find in some of the other adventure games out there. Oftentimes, it's better to just run past enemies rather than fighting each one of them. You have to gain levels and keep up with the strength of enemies, but the game doesn't really penalize you too much for being selective, which is definitely a redeeming aspect. The game also uses a randomizer to populate enemies on each of the map segments, so you can simply back out of each screen and return until you get what you want. As for some of the friendly characters, there's Poe and Sorsha. There's a little variety here, but a lot of the adversaries just use different color coding to indicate different power levels like a lot of the other NES games. Hey, these cartridges could only hold so much content, and that's just something we had to live with back then. At the end of each area, you also encounter a boss, each of which has their own health meters. Some of them are actually kinda challenging, like General Kale. To beat him without over-leveling yourself, you have to use the Fury Shield to deflect his attack and then strike back. With 5 distinct bosses, you will encounter a wide variety of challenges, so the game isn't so monotonous. Oh, and I'd also be doing you a disservice if I didn't warn you about the brownies. Those are the wooded warrior chodes from the movie. The biggest bummer about Willow is that there aren't any healing items you can buy and take with you on your adventure, so outside of a few dungeon boxes, you can only heal yourself in villages. From a user experience perspective, I say this makes things a little cumbersome, because it disincentivizes exploration until you've grinded enough to make your way through. Now, the music for a game of this era was honestly pretty great if you ask me. It's the kind of title you'll immediately remember the tunes for if you return to it now after having played it back then. Willow's lighthearted melodies will stick in your head and definitely have the adventure vibe going for them. Out of all the game's good qualities, this one might be the greatest. The NES Willow was preceded a few months by a 1989 arcade game of the same name. However, that Willow is a side-scrolling action game completely unlike its NES counterpart. The arcade version is great too, just don't expect there to be many similarities to this one. Overall, Willow is a very solid adventure RPG game on the NES, and can still offer lots of fun and nostalgia. The color palettes just aren't quite as nice visually as some of the game's counterparts, and the slow sword swing can be annoying at times, but these are generally minor gripes. I can't say it's as good as the original Legend of Zelda or Crystallis, but it's definitely in the upper echelon of games of its genre on the system. Capcom deserves some serious credit for leveraging what Zelda did well, but still giving the game enough of its own unique flair to stand out. Willow is highly worth playing and probably one of my top 20 games on the system. If you like this review and remember Willow, leave a comment below about the most memorable aspect of the game to you. If you like my videos, please subscribe to my channel and click the bell below to be alerted upon the addition of new ones. Also, please join my Discord community linked in the description and consider supporting my channel via YouTube's Join feature to receive member exclusives, such as advanced videos and complete video transcripts.